What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn Darks Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had the Masters last week. It was a spectacular event.
It's beautiful.
Everybody that doesn't watch golf for 363 days a year turned on this weekend and watched the Masters and just watched golf dominance.
It was incredible.
What'd you think of the week?
That week, let me tell you, from start to finish, it was spectacular. I mean, opening tee shots, the opening ceremony, I don't know if it's just me. It always gets me emotional. I love that stuff. Throughout the week, it was just awesome to see not people struggle, but people succeeded and had really good finishes. Scotty Scheffler is honestly, in my mind, people don't. I read something the other day. It was like people don't want Scotty Scheffler to be a superstar because he's a normal guy.
Yep.
I think it's awesome that a normal guy is dominating and is cleared far and away the world number one. It was awesome. And I was very happy coming into Sunday, at least until the last 20, 30 minutes, that it was competitive and that it was like you had to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming into basically the outs after the ninth hole when Scotty started to really kind of differentiate, on that basically amen corner stretch, it was super exciting. 1 second, future Liam speaking. There were some audio challenges here. It got cut off for a little bit. Basically, Jack and I talked about how Scotty's absolutely dominant and people wanted him to be really exciting, and then it kind of fell apart. Really what we're saying is if you watch the Masters or you are maybe new to golf betting or you are new to our channel, welcome. We really do appreciate it if you join in. We talked about some of the aspects we bring to the golf betting scene, some of the things we do that might make us a little different. Jack will kind of cut back into it with some of the detail on the back end. But again, if you're a big fan of us, please, drop a like, drop a subscribe, drop a follow, depending on if you listen to, via YouTube, via Apple Podcast, via Spotify. All of that stuff is again, really appreciative, and it helps us know that we're doing a good job. We don't put any paywalls behind any of this. We want everybody else to make money as well as us. And our mindset is kind of that it's us versus these sports books, not us versus you guys. That's kind of in my opinion, an old person mindset that sticks along with it. So I will loop it back in here where Jack is talking a bit of semantics about the Jose Maria Olazabal and Phil Mickelson top 20 parlays. But again, we are going to give you the best information possible. So if possible, if you do enjoy what we're doing, please do drop a like and a follow, and that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. Again, we're not going to sit here and give you super risky ones. We're going to give you ones that we think can hit and then have an opportunity to hit, and then you can do with that information what you choose.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack kind of commented on it. His camera's a little buggy, so if you see intermittent times where he's frozen, we can just blame the internet companies, and hopefully it's all set up next week.
Yeah, and then again, just for everybody, like what Liam had said, if you're new, again, thank you, we appreciate it. Really, to break down what this specifically is, this 40 minutes, this bucket of window, whether you're driving or working or whatever the case is, what we really do in the first 10 minutes or so, maybe 5-10 minutes, cover what happened last week, talk about what the impacts are of betting going forward, any big news. The next part of it we'll spend taking a look at DraftKings specifically because they bucket DFS pricing relatively to everything else out there. It's also easy for us to use. We'll talk about the advantages of pricing, advantages of this player to the course model, kind of some diamonds in the rough that you can target lower in your model and lower in your build. We'll go through our individual DraftKings and FanDuel lineups, our bets for the week, wild cards, which our wild cards are anything that's a bet we like, but is kind of just out of that plus 250 or higher in terms of the odds that we're not necessarily comfortable dropping a full unit on. Yep. And then we always end with our winners. And it's not going to be like every single place that you read where they just pick the top 5 golfers in the world in one flyer and they say they get 100% win rate. We pick 2 guys, one at the top, one sleeper we think is good, PGA Tour fantasy rules, and go from there.
Yep. So just to kind of highlight overview this past week at the Masters, Jack, who kind of stood out to you? Obviously, Scotty won. We kind of commented on that.
Ludwig.
He's going to be a first-time father soon, too. I mean, shout out to Scotty for having a kid soon.
Your Masters Sunday, going into it, you hit a ball in the water to knock yourself contention and you laugh it off, you are a monster. Now, a lot of people are going to see this and go, 23, 24-year-old kid, debutante, he got lucky or whatnot. Number one, that mentality is amazing. Number two, the way he worked the ball around a course that is, number one, pertinent to work the ball around the course, but number two is extremely difficult, was second to none. He's proven on basically every event outside of one that he can hang with every single human being out there. This is the toughest test in all of golf. Maybe you could say or argue a U.S. Open is with the conditions, but this is the spotlight, and he handled that with class.
Yeah, part of it too with Ludwig is that the Ryder Cup was probably huge for him last year. Yep. Him having that kind of, again, I know golf doesn't really have playoffs, but like professional, like high value, like multi-million-dollar viewership watching him in Rome, right? It was in Italy this past year. Was super important, I think, for his development. Because now when
golf does have playoffs, not to go back to your comment.
Well, yeah, but again, those aren't playoffs, but they have a playoff-like atmosphere, maybe is a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
So I think him having that in Rome last year was huge for him this week at the Masters. It really kind of allowed him to be like, hey, I've done this before. And he capitalized. I mean, again, second place, first time at the Masters. Again, last one,
a major.
Well, and a major too. But the last one to win the Masters was Fuzzy Zeller back in the 60s, 70s.
Fuzzy.
So that is an impressive stat to finish second in your first major. I mean, shout out to a few of the guys behind him too. You had Morikawa, who finished T3. Max Homa with his best finish ever in a major, T3. Keep an eye on him. If he plays like this, I think he might win a major sometime this year.
Oh yeah.
I could see the U.S. Open. I could see it. I know. I'm not gonna be like, I'll guarantee Homa's winning a major. I could see it this year that he would win either the PGA or the US. I was
gonna say the British is the only one that I would never co-sign on that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's winning the Open, but again, PGA US, I think we could see him win those. And then Tommy Fleetwood, T3 as well. Really solid Sunday.
Tommy.
Unfortunately for Bryson, he did kind of fall apart after 65 on Thursday, but It was very funny. They commented a few times on the broadcast that it was a all PGA Tour leaderboard on Sunday afternoon, which I got a bit of a kick out of. So anybody that stand out to you in terms of maybe not performing up to expectations or not doing what you had hoped for, and then afterwards I'll give you like 20 seconds to talk about Tiger. Yeah, I got
Thank you. I was going to sneak that on there regardless. Well, I think first and foremost there were a couple guys that stuck out. Dustin Johnson, who I'm a huge Dustin Johnson fan. I'm not afraid to admit that. That was shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. Victor Hovland.
Yep.
He's not played as well as he should have this year or has been. He loves the Augusta. He's always played well there, low am number of times. Wyndham Clark, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Mind-boggling. And I think the thing that is most shocking, not necessarily Spieth in a sense, because you could make that argument, but he had one hole that cost him the tournament. It just got in his head and steamrolled. Dustin Johnson didn't make a birdie.
Yeah, no birdies from DJ. And then let's not also forget Justin Thomas, who was on the 15th tee on Friday at even par for the tournament, and then shot triple double.
Did you see? I don't know if anyone saw this. They have a running list of like percentages for people to make the cut, percentages for whatever. He was at 99.999% chance to make the cut.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I was going to get into it this week, but I think Justin Thomas, there's some psychological stuff going on there at this point. Like I am avoiding Justin Thomas like the plague at this point. If he's going to end triple double and miss the cut on the number after being even par, there is some sort of mental wall that he cannot get over that he needs to solve first before we can even look at going back to him. So
and with that, my winner's pick this week is Justin Thomas, and I think that
All right, here's your 20 seconds. Tiger Woods did in fact make the cut. Go crazy.
Okay, let me just talk about the fact. It's going to be longer than 20 seconds, so strap in. I am a top 1% Tiger fan. I'm not afraid to admit it. I will shout it. I get in the mindset, and I think a lot of people do, that when Tiger goes in there, he should make every putt, should shoot 65, and should win. And it's very hard for me to sit there and watch him not play great, but play good. But good for Tiger is bad. And let me paraphrase that by saying he's 48. 2 years ago, they said he wouldn't walk. They said he'd lose a leg. They said he'd lose his life. He is a full-time dad. He's not training golf. He plays no competitive golf outside of majors. Came in struggling, grinded through 4 days, 2 days of bad weather on arguably a top 3 hardest course in America, and made the cut over guys that, if the OWGR did what they were supposed to do, are in the top 30 OWGR. Everybody's going to see Tiger and see him on the last spot in the leaderboard of made cut, which I'm not denying is not great.
Yeah.
But for a guy of that stature, again, 48, was told that he would not walk again on multiple occasions, let alone golf, and made the cut at Augusta National.
This is
like, I'm not denying that he didn't play great. I'm just prefacing that. But we have to get in the mindset, and I understand it's hard, and I understand it's unpopular, that we just have to soak in the fact that he's playing 4 days. And I know that's hard because I want him to win. I know Liam wants him to win. I know Liam talks about, in the betting perspective, it's not the safest bet and it's not the best bet. We all want to see it. Nobody in the world wants to watch Tiger demise unless you're just a terrible person.
Yeah.
But what he did is remarkable. And I think we're all overcasting that because, number one, Scotty dominated, but number two, he fell off. And if you're off, and everybody's had these rounds, if you're a good golfer, even if you're an amateur, where you just have those days. And now imagine you're just dying pain. You're just grinding through it. It's just bad.
I'll leave it at this, and then we'll move on to DraftKings lineups. I said that I would not be betting any Tiger last week outside of maybe a made cut, and that I would be rooting for Tiger to perform well and try and win. And I think that if you followed my metric, it almost happened perfectly to a T. Guy made the cut, and then didn't have the energy come Saturday or Sunday to do it, regardless of whatever the circumstances were. I mean, he lost to the low am in terms of straight up on Sundays. Now, again, there are 1,000 other factors at play, but I think that generally that is going to be my strategy going forward. You can bet Tiger to make a cut at a major, and that is about all I will bet on him at that point. And if he wins, that is absolutely fucking spectacular, and I will be cheering from the rafters. That's about it. Yeah. That's all I got left for Tiger.
It's hard because he is the greatest of all time, and I'll have that argument with anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody took a look, and I know, again, what Liam is saying, it sounds very unpopular, but what he's saying from a financial betting perspective, Tiger is not someone you can bet a top 10 on and put $500 on and sit there stress-free. Yeah. Liam is a Tiger fan. He wants him to win monetarily in betting, but whenever we take a look, he may have lost to Shipley. He beat Tony Finau. He beat Danny Willett. He lost to Cantlay by 1. There's stuff like that you can take a look at and find really good things. I think Tiger needs to play a TPC Deere Run John Deere Classic, get 4 rounds on him, because you can't go, and this is the last thing I'll say because I could stay here forever. You can't go from riding around in your cart, playing with your son, playing with your buddies on your home course, and then ramp up your exercise and come in and try to beat the top 40 OWGR at Augusta. You just can't do it. Regardless if you have the skill or not, competition and what he calls hit and giggle golf are 2 different things, and everybody knows that.
Yeah,
you put $1 a hole on the line and you play differently. Now, let alone this.
No, absolutely. So with that note, we've done the Tiger ego stroke discussions. Jack, let's get into DraftKings lineups. How did your DraftKings lineups do last week?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it for you based on what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. only won money on DraftKings in the double ups, which technically broke even, but whatever.
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka was my big guy, finished 45th, shocking. Xander 8th, Spieth missed the cut, Connors 38th, the GOAT 60, McCarthy 45. So it seems like a lot of people had a lot of a mix of a Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth. So I was not alone, thank gosh.
Yeah, you were not alone. I enjoyed beating the crap out of all of you guys that had those people in DraftKings, respectfully. In my DraftKings, I actually made a mistake. Last week on the podcast, I had Lucas Glover, but in the actual DraftKings lineups, I forgot to swap him with Denny McCarthy, who I had. So I actually ended up with Denny McCarthy in there, which is unfortunate because there's about 25 spots between where Denny ended up and where Lucas ended up. So I could have won even more money, but I won a lot of money this week on DraftKings. I had Scotty Scheffler, who won. I had Hideki, who was T38. I had Cam Young, who was T9. I had Sahith, who was T45. I had Taylor Moore, who was T20. And then again, I had Lucas Glover, but I forgot to swap Denny out. So Denny was T45. So 6 for 6, 2 guys T45, 3 top 20s. Good week.
We'll take that all day. And then
FanDuel?
My FanDuel, unfortunately, was a lot of the same guys. So Brooks 45th, Spieth missed cut, Hideki 38th, Xander 8th, Moore 20th, and McCarthy 45th. That won in both single entry and double. It seemed like FanDuel, I don't know if it was the same for you.
Yep.
It dropped.
I think
I don't know why.
I think because of the way FanDuel's pricing worked, people got a lot more of the DJs and the Spieths and the Wyndham Clarks. I saw a ton of Wyndham Clarks on
Wyndham
FanDuel.
Clark. Yeah, because he was dropped.
Yeah, he was a slightly lower price on FanDuel than he was on DraftKings, so everybody went to him. I did even better on FanDuel than I did on DraftKings. I had Scotty, who was first, Rory, who was T22, Xander, who was T7. Cam Young was, I have T9th and T10th. I don't remember which one he was. I think it was 9th.
T9.
Thank you. I had Taylor Moore, who was T20, and Lucas Glover, who was T20. And so, again, I had 5 guys in the top 20, and then Rory was my worst golfer at T22. So needless to say, I crushed a lot of people at FanDuel this week,
and if you're new, we just hit 3 out of 4 on the DFS, and one of us finished. What was your ranking in FanDuel?
Out of 4,000 entries, I think I was like 89th, maybe 90th overall. So I going through, I think you like 5x your money or 4x your money. Just on that, just on what, depending on the entry you went into, I think I 4x my money. So yeah, that again, very good week in the DFS space for me. So those are always fun weeks. All right, into the bets we go. You got. Okay. I'm gonna let you take I'm taking a nap.
I am, for everybody that didn't listen last week and is just tuning in or whatever the case is, I had 25 bets. Some of them were like a minus 200. Some of them were like a plus 800. I am not going to read through any of them because that would bore you guys. The funny thing is, regardless of whatever happened, I went up. This is not a lie. So if you want to actually know the bets, you can go back to last week. I was up on the week 0.07 units on 25 bets. So now I'm up for the year 25.72 bets overall.
Yeah, I'll highlight.
We're in April.
I'll highlight like 2 of them because I have some of the same ones. We both took like Scotty Scheffler top 20 round 1. That was minus 150. That was a win.
Tiger making the cut.
Yeah, Tiger making the cut, which I had actual money on but didn't put in the pod because I didn't want to jinx it. Jack had a Xander top 10 bet at plus 180. But he also had like a few Bryson bets that I think he had one for him to miss the cut, one for him to be 25th or worse. So again, it all just kind of evened out on that end. On my end, I only had 7 bets. I ended up going, I guess, 4-1, 2 lost, and 1 voided because it ended up being tied. You're going to laugh at the void when you hear it. Joaquin Niemann, top 20.
Especially after day 1.
Yeah, absolutely. My first one is Joaquin Niemann, top 20 at plus 100. I think he finished T21. So that sucks. Or maybe T22. The point being, he was right there. He had a chance to birdie 18, and he lipped out a 4-footer. So that's depression. But it happens. My other bet, Taylor Moore, top 40 at plus 150. That was a win. I had Eric Van Rooyen over Charles Schwartzel, round 1, plus 140. That was a win. I had Corey Connors over Minwoo Lee. Corey Connors shot 78 on Sunday to have that bet lose. I had Max Homa over Colin Morikawa. Yeah, I took two guys that both finished T3 at plus 100. So that bet ended up being voided. Because they tied. I had Scotty Scheffler, top 20.
For anybody that doesn't know, you may, depending on the book you play, you may have a loss on that or a dead heat reduction.
Yes.
The way we play, there's 3 options. And the tie is a void on Bet 365, which is what that was placed on. So just want to preface.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that was a void. Scotty Scheffler, top 20 in round 1 at minus 150. That was a win. And then top senior Phil Mickelson over Mike Weir, Vijay Singh, Fred Couples, and Jose Maria Olazabal was a win at minus.
Scary.
Yeah, honestly, Jose Maria decided he was going to come out in 58 and put on a performance to try and contend and break that up for me. I think he had the worst odds of any of the seniors too to win that bet. So that would have been crazy if he would have came through and won that. But that was a win for that one as well. So technically, I went 4 for 6 if you take out the voided tie. I'm up 2.2. Yeah, because I had 7. I took out the void, 4 for 6. So I'm up 2.2 units on the week. So I'm currently 3.47 units in the positive.
Okay, just for reference, if you are new and this is your first time, at this point last year, I want to say Liam was negative 14 units.
Yeah.
So when you hear positive 3.47, Liam is not as in-depth as a better as I am. So his strength is DFS.
Yes, so thank you. I was like, let's clarify this here.
Also, a lot of the times that Liam is not betting 7 bets, it's a lot of the times 2 or 3 that we're really confident in, or he's really confident in. And if you actually take a look, anytime he loses a bet, it's by like 1, like Joaquin Neiman or Max Homa and Colin Morikawa. It's always the dirtiest crap in the world. So when you hear, like, again, this sounds very self-absorbed, and Liam knows that I don't mean it to be.
Yeah.
Like taking a look at almost 26 units up for me and 3.5 for Liam. Liam's not bad. If you bet $1,000 a bet, that's still paying off your mortgage for 2 months, 2 or 3 months. So everybody be happy with it.
If you take my DFS lineups and pair them with your bets on a weekly basis,
we should retire.
Somebody out there could be a millionaire. That is all I'm saying. Because admittedly, I think that I probably win slightly more on the DFS side. I might be wrong there, but that's just my vantage point on it. And then you obviously are doing better on the bets, being 26 units up just about. So
I think DFS, I go guys that have, like, for me specifically, again, if you're new, I am a golf degenerate. Like, it is Monday afternoon or Monday evening. I was watching the SEC championship for women's national golf in D2. Like, I'm a degenerate. I love this stuff. So there's stuff that I see that Liam doesn't see. There's stuff that I take input in that Liam doesn't see. Liam sees stuff in terms of data that maybe a golf diehard, and I'm not saying he's not a diehard, but no offense to Liam, he's not watching SEC Division II, whatever it is. It was crazy. So there's stuff that we both see that DFS, his model's better.
Yeah, we yin and yang it quite well. I'm the data nerd. Jack is the guy who knows golf in and out from watching, Akshay since he was 11 kind of deal. Like there's just different aspects of it, and we make them both work. All right. You want to go winners or wildcard picks from last week first?
Let's go wild cards. We always use the end on a winner. So
okay.
Yeah. The first one, I had 2 just because it was the Masters. I felt really good about both. And my first one was over after day 1. It was a Bryson DeChambeau and Akshay Bhatia missed cut parlay. And I know that's very hard to see why I was so confident in it. But if you think Bryson missed the last 2 Masters, his clubs were approved the Tuesday before the Masters. So he didn't know what clubs he was going to use going into it. And the weather looked bad. Akshay was injured. He has not great short game, and Augusta does not favor that. So that was a loss. Good for them. And I had Xander Schauffele being in the final group come Sunday because he was my winner's pick. Just didn't capitalize on it. He didn't look the same Xander. I think he was ill or something, but
I think he was in like the fourth to last group still. I mean, he wasn't that far off, but it happens. I had Joaquin Niemann and Sahith Theegala top 20 parlay. Sahith never really had it all together. His iron play just didn't look right, which was funky. He made the cut, but again, it wasn't anything fancy. And so that's fine. That was a loss. I threw Tiger in here because I have his real world bet on him, but that's not a wild pick. I don't know why I have it next to it. So, all right, winners picks we go.
The other wild card pick that you wanted to do just for everybody was Tiger to make the cut. But anytime, for whatever reason, we squad ride a bet that we're both liking, it hits at like a 10% ratio. So last week I was like, bet your money on that. Just do not put it out in the world.
I did put an ungodly amount of money in real life on Tiger making the cut. So he made it. We
base all of our bets on one unit. I promise you, we did not put one unit on Tiger making the cut.
No, I didn't even put one unit on Taylor Moore top 40 either. I put more money on that one, but we made it work. So we're gonna be all right with it.
Yeah.
All right. Winners picks last week.
Yeah. So my pre-year, which we do kind of a pre-year, what we think is going to happen for the year, was Brooks Koepka finished 45th. But my winners picks after taking a look at all of the data for the year was Xander Schauffele finished 8th. And then my wild card, I don't know how, again, classifies as a wild card based on Masters metrics, was Matt Fitzpatrick, who finished 22nd. So not bad.
Yeah, Fitzy was a good one. My winners, my pre-year winner, again, that's when we go through all the majors. I took Justin Rose. I was trying to be fancy. He missed the cut. And then I took two live guys. I took Joaquin Niemann, who finished T21, and then I took Dustin Johnson, who missed the cut. Turns out I could have taken any of the next like 4 live guys, and they would have done better because the next 4 would have been what? Cam Smith, Bryson, Patrick Reed, and Phil. Maybe Sergio.
DeChambeau. No, Sergio missed the cut. So DeChambeau, Hatton. Hatton.
Yeah, there you go. Hatton also played well. So any of those next 4 guys would have all been like top 25. So
and speaking of live, if you haven't checked out our social media, there is a giant rumor going around. I have no information. We're recording this at Monday at 6:42 Central Time. Cannot confirm or anything. There's a major rumor going around that looks to be close that Rory McIlroy is joining live. $850 million and 2% equity in the company or the brand as a whole. That would explain to me why he could have cared less on how he played at the Masters.
Yeah, that's an insane statistic personally if he ends up joining.
We are not pro or anti. We used to be very anti-live when we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I think the world right now just wants golf, and we just want the best players, and that's what the majors are for. And it was very nice to see nobody could care less if you were from LIV, PGA, whatever the census is. We're getting to a very scary point where everybody's jumping ship and then begging to come back, and it's just not a great. I don't know. I think if Rory goes, the floodgates are going to open. Everything's going to become terrible. And I'm not saying he can't make his own choices. He can do whatever he wants, but if the guy that was number one, the most outspoken, is one of the wealthiest players, is one of the best players in the world, jumps over, what's to say that 10 other guys aren't going to go, holy crap, Rory's that's the guy we were supposed to look up to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was the poster child for the PGA Tour, like what, year and a half ago?
Yeah.
So the fact that he'd be leaving now is crazy.
Yeah.
But also let's laugh at the fact that Scotty Scheffler's caddy has made more this fiscal year than Rory has. Just based on Scotty's finishes, which is crazy.
So you want to hear funny stat about that? There were 4 Masters winners with more than 4 wins. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods old caddy, and Ted Scott.
Math checks out. I mean, there you go. Enough said. So
it's crazy.
All right, we spent a lot of time there on the Masters, and we won't normally do that for every event, but just because it's the Masters and it's such a big deal, Jack is wiping away tears because he's got to wait another 51 weeks now for it to come back next year.
We need a November Masters every year.
But let's move on to the RBC Heritage. It's only about 120 or so miles away. from the
Yeah, it's
Masters.
an elevated event.
It is an elevated event, so there's going to be a lot of guys sticking around, except for I think like Hideki and Fowler. No, somebody else was not.
Fowler's in.
Somebody else. Hideki and somebody else aren't in. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we are going to the RBC Heritage. We are going to Harborside. This is a par 71 totaling 7,200 yards. Last year's winner was Matt Fitzpatrick in a playoff over Jordan Spieth. You will hear that name a lot here because for whatever reason, this is not the RBC Heritage. This is the Jordan Spieth, Patrick Cantlay, Matt Fitzpatrick Open. I'll say it. Some highlights of this course. Position and accuracy are really the name of the game here around Harbor Town. Golfers will hit less than driver most of the time off the tee, and it's really kind of a positional course as opposed to a bomb and gouge. That is the common phrase I hear. Similar names really seem to find success here on an annual basis at Harbor Town, and there's a ton of nuance in it. Experience seems to be really important because really guys that have played this event prior to it becoming a signature event seem to always kind of play it well. I have a few stats on guys that are really good in approach and short game, which are going to be some of the highlights around here. This is Scotty, Xander, Russell Henley, Morikawa, Siwoo Kim, Chris Kirk, Lucas Glover, and Akshay Bhatia are all top 30 in that statistic. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, that's a good setup. That is kind of where I am basing a lot of my stuff on this week. I want guys that are good ball strikers that don't necessarily have to be the longest hitters on tour. It's
the 13th most predictive course in terms of data and model, and
Yep.
especially being an elevated event and cutting down over half the field size. It's going to take those big guys and those big names and make their percentages a lot more owned. So a lot of the chances that we're going to take on winning some money may come in those mid to lower tier guys.
Absolutely. All right. Let's bounce right into DraftKings. Are we cool just grouping those first 6 guys together all the way for the 10K?
Absolutely.
All right. So we're starting off with Scotty Scheffler at 13,300 all the way down to Colin Morikawa at 10,000. That is crazy to me that these that expensive.
Let me just say, I'm not dismissing Scotty Scheffler at all, but he was talking about withdrawing last week.
Yep.
13. So in terms of DFS, not in terms of play, but in terms of DFS, you have a guy that was prepared to withdraw last week. He is $2,100 more than the next guy down and has a chance of withdrawing. Personally, for me, that's an automatic fade. Performance-wise, if he wasn't having or potentially having a child this week, I would say get him in there. But when there's a percentage that you're locking up your number one guy and a huge percentage of your capital, I think it's a fade.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind getting to this price at this point with Scotty, but I think this is not the week to do it. Again, let's give him a week or two. He's gonna have a kid here. Let's not try and finagle the system to get Scotty in our lineups for him to only play 1 or 2 rounds and then leave.
Exactly.
Let's not mess with those numbers. You know, you can get Rory for 2,100 less. You can get Xander for 2,500 less. And then it just kind of continually trickles down from there.
Yeah.
So I think we're in the same agreement there. Getting over to Rory with the live news and kind of with Rory maybe not necessarily being peak form for the Masters, I don't know if I want to get to him at 11,200. This might be one of those things where Rory could very well finish top 5 here, but with all of the news and the not top 5 level play that I've been anticipating from him the last 4 weeks, I'm okay kind of avoiding Rory here, especially with the elevated price.
I could see the reasoning behind that. With all the Rory stuff, and again, I'll preface this, no one knows what's going on. Yeah. There have been reports, even the official article goes, I want everybody to know this is just what we're hearing. We're not confirming anything. They preface that, which no other news article has ever done that because they know the kind of crap storm that would follow the firestorm. if it turns out to be really false, which there's a really good percentage that I think it is very false,
Yeah.
then he looks great.
Yeah.
He's arguably coming in. I mean, we talked about 6 weeks ago. He looked terrible for Rory standards. Terrible for Rory. Now he's finally coming in, and it's all about the wedges. So if he's able to take that, and I think on this course specifically, there's a lot of holes that, especially like coming down to the stretch, you're not hitting wedge in. There's a lot of holes you're doing a lot of irons, and I think if that gets to the spot, he's obviously one of the best in the world and can prove in it. So it is going to be interesting to take a look at the next 72 hours to see what the heck goes on. I don't have any issues getting to Rory, but my number one, honestly, is Ludwig Gobert.
Okay.
Holy crap. Listen, what weakness does he have?
It's not much. I mean, I think the only thing people are going to be like, inexperience. But even at this point, it's like, yeah, you're just talking semantics at this point.
Look at 2024. Look at the events he's played and look at his finishes with the big dogs. Look at the Masters. That's your litmus test is the Masters. And he just, I mean, his odds for top 30 at the Masters were, what was my bet, like minus 160? So he was right around 24th or better in terms of that. He beat the litmus test by a mile. So minus coming into event,
minus
180. Holy crap. I mean, think about that. He's 24. He's a rookie. First time ever playing a major, let alone Augusta. He's going to dominate RBC Heritage.
Yeah, usually RBC Heritage isn't super kind to young rookies. The average age of the winner here the last 3 years was 29 years old. Usually, I think if you take into account the last 10 years, it's like 34. So usually
shout out Stuart Sink for bumping that number up.
Yeah, Stuart Sink helps on that one. And then there's a few other guys. I don't know if did Kiz ever win here? But he was even younger then. He probably, again, Stuart really kind of carries this one in terms of the age range. So there's that. I like Xander this week. Elite ball striker, basically capped off again, fourth here last year, barely missed the playoff. This is quite similar in terms of a golf course to TPC River Highlands. I don't really look at comp courses too nice, but it's kind of funny because that's the Travelers, and that was also the week after a major, and he won that event as well. So it kind of like fits perfectly into a mold.
Storylines coming together.
Yeah, the storyline's nice, but I also think just Xander is a dog who's 9 for 9 on making the cuts with 7 top 10s. So I think he's probably the best option here. I also don't dislike Patrick Cantlay. He's played this event 6 times and he's finished 7th or better 5 of them, which includes 4 top 3s or better. He's gained over 4 strokes ball striking, but lost 2 in each of his last 2 starts. He's also never lost strokes ball striking here at Heritage. If you're telling me a guy who's played here 6 times and almost always finishes 3rd or better, or 7th or better, I like those numbers. That's generally somebody I'm gonna follow.
It's the same Patrick Cantlay that we've seen. That's my fear.
I understand, but in this instance, if he's in 2nd place and he drops to 18th, that is something I could potentially work with. You're right. You maybe don't want him as your first guy. I'm gonna kind of break the news here. You can, if you don't take Scotty, there are some loop rounds where Cantlay can be your second guy.
I'll be honest. Patrick Cantlay is my second guy, so I can tell you exactly from firsthand experience he is.
Well, there you go. So yeah, there's some options if you want to get around it. That Cantlay's a very good choice at 10-2. Morikawa is kind of a wait and see approach for me. I'm just gonna. Again, good job on Augusta. Seemed kind of fluky. Yeah, you had good approach play for the first time in 6 weeks. We're not gonna take a chance on that bridge. It's too early.
Yeah,
it's still
the way he's played has been so mind-boggling that 1 week is not time to jump ship, jump aboard. And I'm hoping that there's a lot of people that aren't listening that go, "Ooh, I saw Colin Morikawa do this," and jump aboard that. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah, I love that for the sake of betting, but not on our boards. We're okay missing the mark there. All right, into the 9K range we go. We're going Tommy Fleetwood at 9,800, all the way down to Will Zalatoris at 9,000. Gosh, he's back up to 9K. That's so sad for Willie Z. Who do you like this week?
I'll be honest. I really like Max Homa this week. I
Yeah.
think that he, number one, obviously being Masters in a drought, not necessarily winning, but just playing well. I think he got so much confidence last week and built on himself that he's like, okay, I finally broke through this barrier of performing on the big stages. And he looked amazing. He looked really, really good all the way through. He had some bad shots. Obviously, that's what happens. But through and through, he didn't play bad at all. He looked really good. So I think he honestly takes this step over. And if you talk about short irons and wedge players, position players, Max Homa is one of the best in the world. So for him to see at 9,700, now granted, he hasn't hit those top 10 numbers like we would expect him to. But at 9,700, I really like Max Homa this week, honestly.
Yeah, Max Homa is another guy that I like as well. I have here that this is the perfect game for his venue. He's not a long hitter, but he finds a lot of fairways. He's a terrific iron player, and he's much better on the greens than he's given credit for. Again, if there's anybody that can kind of fit all of those metrics, that's basically what you're looking for here at Harborside. You want good iron play, hit a lot of fairways, be streaky with a putter that week. So I think Homa is a good option. Fitzpatrick is another guy who's very friendly with course history. I don't blame it if you want to get to him at 9,600. He has been a little inconsistent this year. When you look at the metrics, I think he is somebody, if you wanted to be different, Fitzy is going to be a popular choice here in this range. I don't know if you can get to him depending on how you want to set up your lineups. But he makes sense as a second, maybe third option if you want to get crazy. But again, that's what makes it hard. What are you doing with Spieth? Because Spieth is kind of similar to Fitzpatrick. He's got the history here, but his gameplay is just a total cluster.
So there's one thing I want to point out with this event specifically.
Yeah.
Now, when you build your lineup, I want everybody to take a moment and think about players that are going to make birdies, because this event honestly usually fits in the range of 15 to 25 under. Like, it's going to be 4 under a day is going to have to be it. Like, you're going to have to shoot that. So when you take a look at guys, look for birdies. Number one, Spieth last week talked about how he re-aggravated his wrist. And now obviously that 9 was a result of bad short game, not a result of a wrist that took him out of contention. But that's something that sticks in your head. And for a guy that's as good as he is, he's 6 for 9 on cuts. Half of those he makes the top 10. Half of them he finishes in the more bottom percentages of everything. This could be one that either there's one of two avenues this is, and I still haven't figured out which side I'm on. Everybody looks at the Masters last week and doesn't take Spieth this price range, or they go, he played bad there. He's got great course history here, and he's a reasonable price. I'm jumping in. So I don't know if he's going to be 30% owned or 3% owned. I really don't know.
I think he will be low owned because I think people will see the Masters and they will get scared, senseless on it, 100%. But my challenge is again, injury and then just not playing up to standard. I'm okay fading altogether, like similar to Morikawa, just like seeing what happens this week and kind of adjusting from there. But again, he is somebody that I think has the opportunity to play well if you are in one of those high risk, high reward lineup options.
Mm-hmm.
Will Zalatoris, love him, but I'm not getting to him this week just because the winning score is going to be 15 to 25. It's not the kind of event that he will win necessarily. He only wins on these events that are like 5 under to 15 under, not 15 to 25. He could do well. I have no doubt he'll do all right, but again, that's not something I'm running to click the button on this week.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There's only been one event in the last, would they say, 2 years that he's had an event where he's finished more than 12 under. I think it's been like, that was the stat, like one event. So it gets there, especially in DFS. Those placement points are the difference between you 4xing your money and 1.1xing your mony.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. With that, let's go to the 8K range. We have Sahith Theegala at 8,900 all the way down to, is that SH Kim or Siwoo Kim? Siwoo Kim.
Siwoo Kim, yeah. So, number one, I love Sahith this week. I know it's a very unpopular opinion. Oh, my goodness. Did he not have his iron stuff last week? Yes. I think a little bit of nerves got to him, and I'm not going to deny that. Sahith, overall, if he can he plays the cut, much like what Dustin Johnson does.
Yep.
If he can manage that for 4 days in a row, he's proven time and time and time again, waste management, for example, he can get to 20 under. There's no doubt about that in his game. This is a week that I think he can bounce back and get that confidence back, and he's played really well after starting off pretty slow. So 8,900 for this guy, I'm taking that and I'm riding it. But you also have to take a look at a guy, Cam Young, who's 10 for 10 on cuts. Half of that has been top 10s, and his scoring average has been 69.
Yeah.
So
again, Sahith kind of burned me last week at the Masters. I say burned. He still finished like T45. He didn't really.
Yeah.
But that's just in terms of what I was hoping for from him. I was pretty high on him all week. So I don't know if I'll get to him, but again, I think 8,900 for Sahith. It's not a bad option to get to. I'm going to talk about Siwoo at 8K. He's gained strokes off the tee in all 10 starts in 2024. He's also gained on approach in 9 of them. I know that approach isn't all that important here, but you still need to be accurate off the tee. And if he's not having to go, 7,500 yards, there's a lot more opportunity for him to be accurate. He does have a mixed bag of results around Harbortown, but he has finished second here. Now, that was in 2016. And he's also been pretty volatile. He finished T67 a few years ago. But there's optimism because he's finished in the top 45 in all 10 starts this year. This is a course that Siwoo can do pretty well on. Again, his biggest challenge is that he's not great with the driver. But at Harborside, you can get away taking less than driver. He's got good irons. His putter's a little streaky. I'm not going to lie and tell you that it's not. But this is the kind of event where if somebody up top who's a big timer doesn't win, I think somebody that's Siwoo-esque could pull it out.
I like that analysis actually about Siwoo. I didn't know he finished top 45 in every event. That's crazy.
It's kind of insane because when you look at it, you're like, oh, I don't know about Siwoo. Like he's been so inconsistent, and you're like, not really. He's been pretty consistent all year. It's crazy. If you want to go for the
interesting.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to go the opposite of consistency and you want to take a boom bust potential, Russell Henley.
I thought you were about to say Sam Burns.
Well, Sam Burns might withdraw with Scotty Scheffler if his wife goes into labor as well. So don't take Sam Burns. But Russell Henley has generated 2 top 20 finishes on this course in 5 years. The other 3 all miscuts. Now again, his big issue is that he does not do well off the tee with driver. He's very good with his irons. Again, he is top 30 on tour with his drivers. He was in that strokes gained approach and short game. And so he is a high risk, high reward option. And I think he is better if you want to go with somebody at that rate as opposed to the crazier prices up above that have boom bust potential.
I don't hate that at all, actually. Yeah, that's so interesting because you always talk about Russell Henley as being that model of consistency. So when you see 3 missed cuts in a 5-year stretch, that's the definition of boom bust.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little scary. So, all right. Anybody else you like in this 8K range, or are we changing to the 7?
I mean, you could get to Corey Connors. I could see you getting to Justin Thomas. Corey Connors obviously has made every single cut, but has not finished in top 10. And for DFS, that's placement points. So,
yep.
I don't know. I don't know about this week, but I like Corey Connors. I have nothing against him.
Again, I think JT's a little, it's mental, so I got to avoid him. I don't hate Shane Lowry. I think Shane Lowry could do good on this type of course.
He plays well here.
Yeah, he plays solid. Again, he's kind of the safe play, if you want to call it that, for Shane. He'll probably get you made cut, finish somewhere between 20 and 40. So, cool. Into the 7K range we go. Benny on at 7,900, all the way down to Matthew Pavon at 7,000.
Yeah, so I'll start off right away. There's 3 guys that I'm, maybe 4 guys I'll put it on that I really like here.
Yeah.
Denny McCarthy, number 1, because he's a fantastic putter, and number 2 has proved he can score very, very deep. We take a look a couple weeks ago. 28 in the back 9 to force a playoff. I think it was like 22 under or something like that. 20 under. It was crazy. Number 2, Chris Kirk. I think Chris Kirk is very slept on. He's going to get it in position. He's a great ball striker. It's all going to come down to putting. And I think he's proven over the last 8 weeks, he's a way better putter than he was 3 years ago. Bez is another interesting guy in this range. Bez is one of the best putters of all time,
Yep.
and he's played well here in the past. He really has, and I think it's one of the times this is his breakout year. Questionable finishes, but I think this is his breakout year. And then I'll save the guy that you want to talk about, or I'm assuming you want to talk about, but I love Matthew Pavon this week. Now, last time I said this, I think he wanted a stretch where he finished like 52nd and 100. But since then, he is a top 5 in the DP World Tour, and he finished T12 at the Masters.
Yeah.
And I think that built up a lot of confidence in him. And in an elevated event where you're guaranteed 4 days, barring a withdraw or a disqualification, at 7K for a guy that 4 weeks ago led every single category in strokes gained outside of Scotty Scheffler for the most part, is something I have to take a risk on. And if he could just get it on the putting surface, he's probably going to get, and again, normally my price range is $7,500 or lower, just make the cut. Now you're guaranteeing me a cut and a guy that 4 weeks ago led metrics basically all across the PGA Tour. I love that. I'm taking a flyer on him this week.
Yeah, Pavon's an interesting play for sure. Again, he is going to be somebody that I think is going to be popular because he's 7K. I'm very high on Christian Bezuidenhout, or Bez as we like to call him. In this range, he has 3 starts here at Harborside, and he's never finished worse than T30th. So I think his game fits the Harborside mold, and the metrics kind of reflect that. I don't know who you think I'm going to talk about. I like Harris English this week.
I thought you were about to talk Taylor Moore.
No, I think Taylor Moore's a solid option, but I like him if he was in the 6K range. I think in this 7K range, there are a few guys I like as well that are going to make it a little more challenging. So Harris English has been top 22 in I think 5 of his last 6 starts. The game is back. The biggest challenge with Harris English was when he was injured. He's not injured anymore. He missed a cut at Valero, shooting a bad round on Friday. But outside of that, again, T17, 7th, T21, T19, T22. If you are telling me at 7,500, you're going to get a guy who's going to finish top 25, that is rock, chalk, Jayhawk, I am picking him kind of deal. Like that is like picking UConn in March Madness. They're going to make the Final Four. Harris English is going to make the cut. Like, it's just those things are going to happen. So I like Harris English.
It's an elevated, so there's no cut anyway. But
well, I know, but I think he's still going to play well. Tom Kim's an interesting one because it's a shorter course. I don't know if I can get to him at 7,400. I like too many.
Everyone on the golf community is like all aboard Tom Kim. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's a shorter course, and so he doesn't need driver here. I totally understand it, but I like other guys around him. And then again, Taylor Moore, the cut machine, but I don't know if he fits for me in this week. I just don't know if I can get to him in the again. I don't hate him. 7,400. I like a lot of the other guys around him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk, by the way, about the dramatic fall off the planet that is Sung J M at 7,300?
Gosh, I was such a fan of his. Well, I still am. I have nothing against him. Man, I feel bad for him. Something's going on.
I mean, there was a stretch here where he was struggling. I mean, since the Farmers, miscut, T66 at AT&T, T66 at Waste Management, T45 at Genesis, miscut at Cognizant, a T18 at the API. Woo! There you go, Sungjae. Proud of you, buddy. T31 at the Players, and then cut at Valspar and the Masters. He just does not look like the same golfer from years past, which is so sad.
Even last year.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of last year for sure. I think beginning of last year he was still solid, but that makes sense. The metrics, by the way, I love Tom Hoagie here at 7K, just because of the iron play. That's really it. I don't know if I can necessarily follow suit, but that's it. If you want hey, I'm top 5 in the metrics, Bez and Tom Hoagie are basically the only ones outside of like Scotty, Xander, and Rory that stand out. So, all right, into the 6K range we go, starting with Kurt Kitayama and Emiliano Grillo, all the way down to, is that Bryce Garnett in this field? God, that's so sad.
Yep.
What's up, Bryce? How you doing? No, screw that. We're going Chandler Phillips at 6K. That's our guy.
Mustache man. this is a crazy one because there's guys that you take a look at. Kitayama,
Yep.
dog of an iron player, can't finish. Ricky Fowler, dog, can't finish. Lucas Glover, dog, has not finished. Eric Van Rooyen, 6 weeks ago, he would have been 8,700. Now he's 6,700. The only guy in here that I am fighting for is Jake Knapp.
Ooh.
He started to struggle a little bit. 6,500, you're guaranteeing me 4 rounds of golf. You're guaranteed, barring getting stung by a bee on the center of the pupil or something, something crazy. You have to withdraw or disqualification.
Yep.
He's been proven that he has the ability to score deep. And that's what I'm banking on, is he's proven that. Obviously, I would love for this to be a spot where you can just go bang 320-yard drives every single hole and take pitching wedge or approach wedge in, and it's not. But I think at this price range, with the field as elevated as it is, you're guaranteeing me 4 rounds, and he's proven time and time again he can go deep. 6,500 is not the worst flyer here.
Yeah, Knapp's an interesting one. He has a bit of that upside. Again, I don't know if this is necessarily the first spot, I think, because I know he won in Mexico, so he had a little bit more spray and pray ability in Mexico. Doesn't really have that here at Harborside. I have 2 options in the 6K range that I think are solid options. I'm going to say the one I probably like a little less first. Thomas Dietrich, 6,300. Now again, it's a little scary. He has the ability to just struggle off the bat. He has gained on approach each of the last 2 starts. He missed 2 straight cuts at Mexico on the Cognizant, basically missed the cut of the Players, finishing like T64, and then finished T17 at Valspar and T2 in Texas. He's kind of coming around. If you want to be a little early on Thomas Dietrich, he has kind of ability to finish top 20 at this style of an event.
And if he's filled both of our pockets over the last couple of years.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's just the extra benefit. So at 6,300, I think he's a very valid option, especially if you want to get to like a Scotty and you need to save a lot of money in order to do so.
Well, maybe not Scotty, but if you wanted to take that risk.
Yeah, and that's probably a good way to describe it. The other guy I'll mention, I honestly don't even have him included in here, but I should, is Mackenzie Hughes. He's got 4 straight top 30s, including 2 straight top 15s. The iron play looks good, and Mackenzie Hughes has no problem coming out of nowhere in like elevated style events and finishing top 20. Every once in a while, every 6 weeks, all of a sudden you'll see Mackenzie Hughes on a leaderboard, and you'll be like, "What the hell he's doing here? That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, he comes out of nowhere, wins, and then falls off the face of the earth, and then slowly chops his way back like a hiker, and then falls off the cliff and slowly works his way back up.
Again, it's not pretty, but if you want that big boom bust award, I would a valid option. The guy I really kind of like is Austin Eckroat. He is 6,400. He's
so good looking.
He's a good looking gentleman, that is for sure.
Yeah.
So he is top 30 in strokes gained approach, so he's very good there. His around the green play is not great. He's pretty good at fairways gained as well. He did miss the cut here at the Masters, not by much. He missed it on the number. Prior to that, he had 6 straight top 45s. That includes the Players. If you take that out, he had 6 straight top 35 or 5 straight top 35s, including the win at the Cognizant.
Oklahoma State guys are no joke.
So again, Austin Eckroat is probably my favorite option at 6,400.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah. All right. Into DraftKings lineups we go. Jack, how is your DraftKings lineup look?
Scary. No.
Fair.
I actually like this.
Okay.
I did Ludwig Aberg number 1 at 10,400. He's got no weaknesses. Cantlay at 10,200. I'm hoping we see 2021 and 2022 Cantlay come out of the woodworkings here at that price. I have Sahith Theegala at 8,900. Matthew Pavon at 7K. I have just what you said. The metrics holds at Tom Hoge at 7K. And then I did Jake Knapp at 6,500.
Yeah. Again, Tom Hoge at 7K is like the sun rising and the sun setting. It's the number he's good at, and
He's the number he's always going to be at. It's weird. Even after he won at AT&T, the next week he was still 7K.
He was like 7,500. It was like, here's our Tom Hoagie boost, and it's like, oh, an extra $500. It happens. My DraftKings lineup, I have a few similarities in there. Cantlay, and Hoagie. Actually, we have both of them. So I have Xander at 10.8, Patrick Cantlay at 10.2, Siwoo Kim at 8,000, Christian Bezuidenhout at 7,600, Tom Hoagie at 7,000, and then Thomas Dietrich at 6,300.
I like that. I wish I could have gotten Bez into my lineup. It just didn't work out that way.
I have been tinkering too much, and I thought about trying to get Eckroat in at 6,400, because I have an extra $100. So if you're like me, you can make that similar lineup and maybe swap out Dietrich with Eckroat, and then I like that just as much, if not maybe more. So
and then jumping into my FanDuel, Auberg 11,500, Cantlay 11,100. I did go Homa at 10,500. I think that this could be a week we see him perform. I have Degal at 9,900, McCarthy because he can putt and score 8,600, and then I have Pavon at 8,100.
It's funny because you and I took similar approaches to FanDuel, but with different players.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of similarities in our FanDuel lineup in terms of what we were going for. You kind of took like 3.5, 4 big names, took a big putter, and then took a guy who kind of has the upside. I'd like to think I did the same thing. My FanDuel is Xander Schauffele at 12,100, Patrick Cantlay at 11,100, Matt Fitzpatrick at 10,600, Max Homa at 10,500, Christian Bezuidenhout at 8,700, and then Austin Eckroat at 7,500.
I like it. I mean, you really did summarize it really well. We have the same thought process.
Yeah, I mean, 4 big names. 5th guy is a really good putter. 6th guy has upside. Bang.
Yeah.
All right, into bets we go. How many bets you got this week? 75?
I have 5.
Ooh, wow. I have as many bets as you do.
I went short and sweet this week because I think this may be a week that we return back to PGA Tour. What the heck is going on? Yeah. So I went safe. So first and foremost, I did go 3 straight top 20 bets. Number one is Patrick Cantlay, top 20 at -150. Scary, but he has proven that this is, for lack of a better term, it's his PGA Tour home course. He always plays well here. He performs here outside of the FedEx Cup, basically. So I'm riding that until it falls. I did go Max Homa top 20 at -125 for the reasons I spoke about earlier. I think that last week was just a confidence week, and I think he's coming in. Ludwig Auberg top 20 is -180, was the best odds I can find him at, which is crazy. But he is a killer. And if I take a look and I pull up his stats, he's hit top 20 in 6 of the last 7 weeks and has only missed his 25th. So he's going to be in contention. I had Scotty top 9 initially. I said, no way. There's a good chance he's withdrawing. I have Christian Bezuidenhout at top 30 at -115. And then I have Rory McIlroy, caution with this one, just in case. If the news comes out in the next 2 days, obviously it's a void. But Rory McIlroy beating Shane Lowry and Seamus Power, I think it's going to be a head-to-head between Rory and Lowry, and that's at -155.
Yeah, I saw the one with Rory. I almost pulled the trigger. I saw that bet, and I was like, ooh. And then for whatever reason, Lowry scares me. And if Rory ends up doing some semantics where he's too focused on live and the potential that he may join, I don't really want to be involved in him this week. I did 5 bets as well this week, so we're sharing the same amount of bets. I am heavy on Patrick Cantlay for bets. I have Patrick Cantlay top 20 at -150. I have Patrick Cantlay top 20 round 1 at +105.
Yeah.
I actually almost like that bet more than just straight top 20 because I think he can get out to a great start. And then if he falls apart on Sunday, then it doesn't matter. And so if you're maybe looking at
that's really smart. We have talked about he sucks in the weekend.
Yeah, if he decides he wants to fall apart on a Sunday, if you get him top 20 in round 1, that's plus money too, which is hilarious to me. +105. I know, that's why I was like, oh, that might be the play. So I'm gonna keep both. Because again, I'm very high on Cantlay this week. But I think that second bet was a very good bet. I have Christian Bezuidenhout top 30 at minus 134. I have Emiliano Grillo over Alejandro Tosti. I didn't really talk about it, but Grillo is a great iron player. I'm basically relying on the guy who is really good with his irons over the guy who is good once every 12 weeks and is way more middle tier. That's really the simple answer for that. And then I'm taking Siwoo Kim over Tony Finau. Again, taking a guy with consistency here and good iron play over the guy who just shot, I think, 82 at the Masters on Sunday, and needs to find his game. So
yeah, I'm really thinking about that. Can't lay top 20 in round one. I'm gonna sprinkle some dinero on that in the side for sure now.
There you go. No, it's again, that was one that I saw and I was like, oh, that's a fun play. By the way, I think the Scotty top 20 round one is minus 400. Just so you know, the odds are disgusting. His top 30 odds, I think, are minus 3,000.
Just pardon me, guys. I'm throwing up right now.
Yeah, so it was brutal because I looked at it. I was like, what's Scotty top 20 just for the kicks?
Oh, my word.
And I was like, never mind. Can't go that route. All right. Are we going winners or wild card picks first?
I want to go wild card. Oh, yeah. Wow, you got the same thought process as me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Lead us off.
I am going Patrick Cantlay, who, again, always finishes top 7 here. And then the boom bust of Russell Henley, top 20 parlay, plus 240.
Who's guaranteed to make the cut, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 rounds. He's got a chance to go low at least one of those 4 days, and the iron play could help him there. Again, that is less of a Patrick Cantlay top 20 and more of a what will Russell Henley do.
That's fair. Yeah, I had kind of the same thought process, but I have 2 different players. I have Ludwig Aberg, and Sahith Theegala top 20 parlay at plus 253. I think for me, Ludwig's a lock. And if Theegala can find the irons the way he usually plays, I think this course could suit him well. And I think he could surpass that number. So I really like that.
Yeah, no, I think Ludwig's a really good choice. I think Theegala is the risk, but again, I have the same concept in mind where I have a safe option and a risk and a parlay for a wild pick. So great minds think alike there. Into winners, what do you got for your winners picks?
Well, if you like my wild card, then you're sure going to like my winners because it's Ludwig Aberg and Sahith Theegala, baby.
There you go. Again, I think the Aberg choice is great. The Theegala choice, that one kind of scares me just a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm sure you'll feel the same way about mine. My winners picks this week, I actually had another winner in there for a little while today. I did swap him out about an hour before the podcast just because I had a different thought process. The one I had initially and I'm keeping is Siwoo Kim. Again, he's made all of his cuts. He plays pretty well here at Harborside. Has the potential to finish, top 5. So I like the upside there. The other winner's pick I'm going to take is Matt Fitzpatrick. So Matt Fitzpatrick always went on holiday here to Harborside. He actually, if you look at his bag this week, he has a Harborside head cover on his driver. So Harborside is known for having the red and white striped lighthouse. If you look closely at his bag, he has a red and white striped lighthouse for a driver head cover that he wears. So I am totally just going for the storyline ending back-to-back winner. Matt Fitzpatrick is my winner's pick.
I picked him last week, so I don't mind it.
Yeah. So, all right. That was a long episode, and I apologize, but it was Masters Week. We wanted to kind of recap a lot. Again, kind of let everybody know who's new to the podcast and
thank you.
The YouTube video. Thank you guys for all the appreciation. But that is the RBC Heritage. Next week is the Zurich.
Corrales.
Corrales, right? You're Corrales. So next week we're going to Corrales. But let's have fun betting this week. Let's go out there. Let's win some money, and we will see you all next Tuesday. Doses.